Hello everyone, I am Julian Morris with the Channel 5 News. In the headlines, Public Service Union left out of discussions over allowances for nurses. A new plant virus threatens Dominica's bananas. And in sports, Dominica loses home advantage in the upcoming CONCACAF Nation Shield. The details coming up.
If you're HIV positive or have an STI, having unprotected sex with multiple partners puts them in grave danger. You'll expose every partner and their present and future partners to HIV or another STI. Use a condom every time you have sex. You can live a productive life even if diagnosed with HIV. Remember, early detection is key to your survival. Be responsible, protect yourself and others. Help stop the spread of HIV and other STIs.
First up in the news, General Secretary of the Public Service Union says health authorities erred by excluding the trade union from a decision to offer and increase allowances for nurses. The increases offered are for night nurses' nourishment allowance, on-call allowance for nurses and nurse practitioners, and allowances for off-duty nurses attending nursing sessions. Later says health administrators should have been guided by the principles of collective bargaining and consult with the union ahead of the decision.
They made a mistake and it is now getting back at them. The Dominica Public Service Union is the union representing the interest of nurses. And when we say that we represent the interests of nurses, their working conditions, like other public officers, are negotiated by the union. There is nothing, and I repeat, there is absolutely nothing wrong for an employer to meet with its employees. And you can discuss just anything with them. But if you get to the point where you are discussing terms and conditions of employment, you must involve the trade union in the discussion.
In the past, Later recalls the authorities advising nurses that certain requests should be made through the PSU, after which negotiations follow with the union.
But we were never part of the discussion. Up to this point, they have never got in contact with us and have any discussion. Now, the sad thing about this whole thing is when we negotiate for public officers, our last negotiations, when it came to allowances, including allowances for nurses, we were told by the government team that let us do not discuss allowances and leave it for the next round of negotiations, which is for 2018 to 2020, because there are a number of allowances that need to be reviewed. So they want to take a holistic approach to the question of allowances. So we were rather and extremely taken aback when we understood that the government had made certain promises to the nurses. And now that the nurses are not satisfied, they are complaining. But as I said, they went about it the wrong way.
Later plans to meet with nurses soon on issues concerning their salaries and benefits.
We believe that this whole implementation of the job classification exercise, which was done about between 4 and 6 years ago, that this thing needs to be seriously looked at. And it cannot be a situation that every year, when we meet with the government, they say to us that next year we will implement, next year we'll implement, next year we'll implement. Next year never comes. The nurses are fed up, they are tired, and I will be meeting with the nurses very, 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 very soon, and we'll be able to provide the public with more information as to how we are going to pursue this whole matter.
Nurses benefited from a 2-month salary bonus last November and a 3% increase last December for the final year of the triennium, coming from the PSU's negotiations with government. Management of the Grotto Home for the Homeless would have to act quickly to relocate to its new site as the start of a more severe hurricane season approaches. Iduna John Baptist reports.
Hurricane Maria would have delayed plans to relocate residents of the Grotto Home for the Homeless to its new site at Bellevue Roll. However, since then, displaced residents continue to be left to seek shelter at Grotto's new building, and the minimal damage caused by the September disaster has not been repaired. Last June, the contractor was putting the finishing touches to complete the new building, with the acting president of the Grotto's board, Paul Green, projecting that they would transfer residents there by July 2017. While management has cited lack of finance as a major setback, government would have donated $200,000 less than a year ago to complete the project. Other donations were also injected into the project, including £10,000 from the Dominica Organization of Bradford and another £10,000 through the Red Cross Society. The Environmental Health Department has ruled the existing location for the homeless shelter as uninhabitable after investigations of the High Street site in October 2017. That building had been deteriorating even before Hurricane Maria, and board member Parry Bellot agreed that it was falling apart. When Channel 5 News visited the new Grotto building on Wednesday, we met a young man claiming to be a security guard for the area, but it was clear he is one of the displaced residents who settled there and has not left since the September disaster. The minimal damage caused by the hurricane includes a leaking roof which has not been addressed. The Grotto home for the homeless would have to meet a deadline of under 1 month to relocate before the start of the hurricane season in June. Idona John Baptist, Channel 5 News.
And Dominica's banana crop is under threat by a new plant virus. Here's Andrea Louis with more.
This follows a recent survey by the Division of Agriculture. Acting Head of Plant Protection and Quarantine Services, Nelson Laville, says the cucumber mosaic virus, which affected cucumbers, has now been identified in bananas. Cucumber mosaic virus is a plant pathogenic virus. Symptoms include yellowing of and ring spot on leaves and distortion of fruits and flowers. Outside of this new virus affecting the bananas, the division is also concerned with the presence of a new scale insect on island.
We've just completed a survey on the cucumber mosaic virus. It's a virus that is predominantly endemic to cucumbers and pumpkins and melons. But recently we've discovered it in bananas and plantains. As well, just before Hurricane Maria, we found a new scale insect in Dominica, which is the croton scale. So we've been doing some work on that as well.
Apart from these new developments, Laville says the unit is managing these diseases presently on island, and those not in the country are of grave concern to the division.
For example, citrus, there are citrus leprosis and citrus canker. These are two separate diseases that can affect our citrus plants. We also have the lethal yellowing, which affects palms, all palms. So there are quite a few pest issues that we are concerned about that are not present in Dominica, but as you know, Dominica is predominantly agriculture, and also we are trying to grow our tourism industry and our tourism product, and those pests can significantly impact those industries.
Laville says in the wake of Hurricane Maria, the large number of containers coming in is of concern, but he expressed confidence in the border control strategies of the relevant authorities.
All of these things are coming in, and of course, the present risk, of introduction of new organisms or already existing organisms in Dominica. But what we have seen is even before Hurricane Maria, there's been a stronger collaboration between plant protection and quarantine. We have our officers based on the ports who do all these inspections, etc., and the customs and the ports. Yes, we can have some improvement, but we have a very strong collaboration with all the other agencies.
MP for Wesley Woodford Hill constituency is warning that there will be no repeat of some of the practices which he says took place in that community post-Hurricane Maria. Senator Ezekiel Basil claims there was political interference in the way in which relief efforts were handled in his constituency following Hurricane Maria. Basil is claiming that disaster preparedness plans already in place were destabilized by political operatives. He is vowing that under his watch, such practices will not be allowed to take place in the future.
What you had was that, for example, there were committees set up to take care of housing, committees set up to take care of building supplies, committees set up to take care of relief supplies with respect to food, committees set up to take care of medical supplies. Those were done. What you had were operatives came in after, and since the supplies were coming in, they bypassed those committees, took the supplies, and then went straight on the ground themselves with the operatives to do the distribution. In some areas that actually, not that people did not need, but there was no priority in the form of the distribution. It was more political than anything else. Very counterproductive. The village council was sidelined. The committee was sidelined. The chairman of the village council, for example, were totally moved out of the process, okay, by an operative of the Dominica Labour Party who contested the last election and lost, okay. But we are aware now that that is a new challenge. So what you do with challenges, you plan for them. So we will address it in the future. But I can assure to the general public that it may happen in the constituency. It will not happen in the West Upper constituency should there be another disaster, which I hope there will never be another disaster. So let's hope it will never have to happen again.
You are watching Channel 5 News. More news coming up.
Rudolph Thomas Enterprise in Portsmouth, your suppliers of building materials and hardware products. Over 20 years experience in the business. Rudolph Thomas has lumber and plywood, galvanized and fenced pipe. Check out Rudolph Thomas for ceramic and vinyl floor and wall tiles, nails, nuts and bolts, paint and painting supplies. And check out their line of electrical and hand tools. Go now to Rudolph Thomas on 1240 Bay Street in Portsmouth.
Thank you for staying with us. Businessman Parry Bellot says he's disappointed with the current state of affairs at the Bello factory. The establishment has not been in operation since Hurricane Maria, and employees are not sure when or if they will return to work. That factory was originally owned by Parry Bellot's father, P.W. Bellot, who later sold the manufacturing concern to the Fagan family. There is no doubt that Hurricane Maria dealt a severe blow to the factory, known for producing hot pepper sauce and coffee. Parry Bellot, who is not involved in the operations of the company, has been looking from the sidelines. He says the company was having difficulties prior to Hurricane Maria, and the hurricane only served to make things worse. The company's manager has since left the country, and employees and their union are demanding answers.
From what I know, they were having financial difficulties long before Maria. And that upset me. In fact, I had a lot of friends who'd call me from overseas. What's happening? You know, the company used to be associated with, and so on. I said, well, I really have nothing to do with them now. As people would know, my father sold the company many years ago to the Fagan family. And they've had Mr. and Mrs. Fagan are kind of elderly now, and gradually they had their sons running the company, and the last one was the manager. And yes, he seems to have just disappeared with the parents. Now, I made inquiries myself to find out what was going on. And I was told the parents, who I know had not been in the best of health, after Maria, had to leave Dominica for their own care. And apparently, their son, the manager, just followed suit, leaving a lot of debt and a lot of people wondering what is going on. It's not only the employees, they're perhaps the most important because they've worked with the company a long time, but a lot of businesses, a lot of commitments made by the company for this, that, and the other, and that's just been abandoned. To me, it's very responsible, and I dare say my father would be turning in his grave for what's happening now. With a company that used to mean so much to Dominica, had so much potential as an agro-industry for Dominica.
Are you disappointed in how things have turned out with the company?
As I say, very, very disappointed. Very disappointed. I am certainly not in a financial position to have helped them, but certainly I would have done what I could with the connections I have in Dominica and beyond that in the region, to see, you know, how the company could be put on a stronger footing.
Parry Bellot believes Bello, which has become a part of the Dominica business landscape, should not be allowed to disappear.
When things are bad, a company is badly in debt and so on, they may be willing to dispose of the company for a meager amount if whoever is buying them out will take care of the debt and things like that. It may well be some other company, maybe even a government agency may say, look, that's a company with potential. And if we can acquire it, you know, for very little, then government may want to do that. For instance, there are a lot of small processors now, some including, by the way, who make hot pepper sauce and so on. Maybe, Mr. Mackenzie, there's an idea for you, where we come together and see what is possible there. But I know a government agency, I won't mention their name, but a big government agency, that they were very disappointed when they made inquiries to find out like the company factory had just been abandoned.
And the Waterfront and Allied Workers Union is calling out what it says is a violation of the requirements in terms of the redundancy of one of the employees of Domlec. Curtis Augusta says WOW and Domlec have had good relations in the past, but the way in which the electricity company has gone about getting rid of one of its employees is misguided.
He was invited to a meeting by the human resource manager, Mr. Ron Isidore, and Mr. Dave Stamp, the generation manager, and was handed a letter informing him that his position was being made redundant. I, on the other hand, think that Mr. Brown is made redundant because the position still exists. The requirement of the collective labor agreement in terms of notice was violated. When any company wants to make workers redundant, the minimum notice to the union is 1 month. Mr. Brown and the Waterfront was not given 1 month's notice, because we have the possibility of discussing the scope and the application of that redundancy. In fact, at the meeting, I told them, pull back the thing and follow the provisions of your collective agreement. They did not do that.
Augusta says that is a departure from the norm in relation to the union's dealings with Domlec. The matter is now before the Minister for Labour on its way to a tribunal. Meantime, the retirement age of dock workers is another matter being looked into by the WOW. Of concern to the union, over 50-year-old males exposed to risk and danger in carrying out their duties.
Port workers in the administrative field are working for DASPA. That's the monthly paid workers. The true port workers are the stevedores, the longshoremen, the winchmen, the gangwaymen, the tally clerks, and the unit operators. These are the port workers. The others are employees of DASPA, Dominica Air and Seaport Authority. So the union continues to discuss with the management of DASPA the question of the retirement age of dock workers and the question of safety and health, especially the stevedores, who are advanced in age and required to climb containers that are stacked 3 and 4 high. And that was so, especially following Maria.
The proprietor of a CBI-funded hotel enhancement project is encouraging Dominicans to see the silver lining in the Hurricane Maria experience. Jonathan Lera, managing director of Bois-Courtlet Estate in Soufrière, says Hurricane Maria has paved the way for Dominica to advance itself in several sectors as it rebuilds from the storm. He pointed out that assistance from the international community helps Dominica develop itself in a more resilient, progressive way.
I smile when people from overseas, and I'm in discussions with regard to raising funds through CBI, and people say, oh, we heard about this terrible hurricane. And I say, well, you'd be amazed, because Hurricane Maria was indeed a Category 5 and it was devastating. But when you look at the generosity of other countries who have come to Dominica and said, let us help you rebuild. We have an opportunity now to jump into fiber optic communications, which wouldn't have been possible before Hurricane Maria. And so when I think about the hurricane, I think about, yeah, we can look back and say how terrible, but we could also look forward, and there's a silver lining there that says, hey, you know, we have a chance to make Dominica really just great.
Lera says the resilience of the Dominican people will lead to a positive future for the country.
When you ask about damage from Maria, I don't think damage can be measured necessarily in a monetary term. I think it's something that stays with us forever. So it's a brave new future. And part of that, believe it or not, is thanks to Hurricane Maria, and part of that, of course, is thanks to the resiliency of Dominicans.
And the former president of the National Youth Council says it's worthy of note that the new executive is predominantly male. Both the new NYC President Paul Barron and Chairman David Thornhill are males. Their recent election to the NYC's new executive is believed to be an indication of a turnaround in public perception that young men were taking a back seat in terms of meaningful involvement in local and national development.
I think it's very key to note that a lot of the members who were elected are male, and we've been having the concern for some time that our young men and boys have not been taking up roles of leadership at the local level or the national level. And I really want to commend the young men like President Paul Barron, the chairman David Thornhill, Mr. Daniel, who is the publicity coordinator, and others for stepping forward and demonstrating that Dominican men are willing to serve and volunteer in their communities. And based on the skill set that I know they have, based on the fact that the individuals that were elected have been volunteering with the council consistently, I think they will continue to demonstrate that commitment going forward, and that will augur well for a very successful term in office for them.
The other members of the NYC board are Kadisha St. Louis, First Vice President, Therese Moranci, Second Vice President, Daniel Panthier, Publicity Coordinator, Kano Winston, Assistant Secretary Treasurer, Yannick Regis and Carson Birmingham are committee members. That's the Channel 5 News. Your sports highlights next with Kenny Williams.
Do you need more cash for that home improvement? Then come to Fast Cash, where we give you more. At Fast Cash, our customers get more funds and more time to repay. But wait, can't come to us? We'll come to you, and our mobile officer will get you on your way. Small businesses, consumers, and taxi owners, Fast Cash has more for everyone. Simply call or visit any of our locations for more, smarter, faster, better. Fast Cash. Terms and conditions apply.
On the football scene, Dominica has lost its home advantage at the upcoming CONCACAF Nations Shield. Originally scheduled to play host to Suriname in September, Dominica was unable to have the stadium ready for inspection at the due date, which meant DFA couldn't host the game here.
The CONCACAF Nations Shield Cup game for Dominica will be in Guadeloupe on the 6th of September. It's a 4 o'clock game. It's a loss for us, I must say, in terms of home advantage. Persons would rather have that game in Dominica. The support you will get from your local supporters, your local persons would definitely help the team. And we saw that in our World Cup qualifiers with Canada a few years ago. Yes, we lost, but you could see the enthusiasm, the support from the persons, and that motivated the boys. And even now that our boys, I must say, is on a real high from coming from a draw, Antigua, just recently. But it's something beyond us. It's nothing we can do about it, in the sense that CONCACAF has to put the logistics in place. When I mean logistics, a matter of fact, the inspection date have passed already. The stadium might be ready for September 6th, but they can't wait on the date that the stadium is going to be ready to put their logistics in place, because the team we play is Suriname. Suriname now has to start booking the flight actually where it's going to be. So these are some of the reasons why this game has been shifted to Guadeloupe. Even the media personnel, I understood that the ESPNs and these persons, and you're into media yourself, so it's not something that a week before or 2 weeks before or a month before. You need a lot of time to organize.
ATN expects the September competition to be of a high standard and broadcasted like the Premier League.
And what I can say about this level of competition at CONCACAF, it's going to be televised internationally around the world, like the English Premier League. So it's a very top competition, and I think that's the reason why CONCACAF is putting all the logistics at least a few months ahead of the game.
Dominica is scheduled to come up against Suriname in Guadeloupe on September 6 at 4 in the afternoon. Next up, Dominica Olympic Committee to celebrate its official one-year anniversary later this month. May 19 will mark 1 year since the new executive took office at DOC, and head of the organization notes a number of areas he would like to highlight. Among the top items on the agenda are the achievements and obstacles encountered along the way.
One of the greatest achievements that we have had, and I think I said that from day one when we won the election, was we want to win back the confidence of the Dominican people. We want to change the perception that they have of the Dominican Olympic Committee, because, you know, from at that time, confidence in the Dominican Olympic Committee was at an all-time low. We have changed that significantly in 12 months. And even more so, the way that the international bodies, the PASO, the International Olympic Committee, Olympic Solidarity, and our regional counterparts, what we are most happy is the way that they have recognized that there's a major difference in the way that the Dominican Olympic Committee now operates. Even our nominations to the Commonwealth Games, when we had Brendan Williams being selected as the athlete's representative, you know, that was a major achievement. And we had young Sharon Burton, who will be representing Dominica at the region at the Youth Olympic Games, and we'll be basically highlighting the respective associations who have put their house in order, because we have called on that from day one. Quite a few associations have made the change, made the effort to get their house in order, to get active. Some of the associations have still not done that, and we are calling on them continuously to try and ensure that they can become very active and develop their sport, because that's what you have responsibility for, to develop your sport and develop your athletes within your sporting organization. So we will be highlighting quite a few areas, and we will also be highlighting, unfortunately, the difficulties, some of the difficulties that we had to overcome. Because if we didn't have those difficulties, we probably would have been further. But unfortunately, we had to overcome those difficulties. We had to plan and execute things to change. But possibly it was a good thing that because it made us understand, you know, what we had to change and the direction that we had to go.
He believes a lot of the DOC's achievements would not have been possible under the previous administration.
Those, I can say quite clearly, those appointments by the Olympic Committee and the Commonwealth Games Federation would not have happened under the previous administration. I have no doubt about it, because they had no confidence in the way the Dominican Olympic Committee was being run. And all our associations, all our regional counterparts are saying that they can see a difference, even in terms of our appearance.
Moving on to basketball, where the Honorable Kelva Daru League tips off with a season opener on Friday. The first match will be crossover versus LA Dark Knights at 7 p.m., followed by Team Ice Cream against Clouds at 9 p.m. On Saturday, it will be the home team, Hurricanes versus Falcons at 8 p.m. Only one game will be played on Saturday to allow teams to participate in the Lupus Walk the same day. Finally, on Sunday, X-Men will come up against Police Sports Club at 7 p.m. Regular game time throughout the season are scheduled for Saturdays at 7 p.m., Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m., and Fridays, Saturdays at 7 and 9 p.m. The teams are divided into two zones this season. In Zone A, we have Blazers, Crossover, Team Ice Cream, Clouds, Knights, Grand Bay, and Old School. Zone B comprises Prowlers, Falcons, X-Men, Police, Sports Club, Snipers, and Hurricanes. Meantime, the Sports Division Secondary Schools Under-20 Basketball League continues Thursday with one match following slight changes to the fixture. The Pierre Charles Secondary female team will play host to Portsmouth Secondary. That match is scheduled to begin at 3 in the afternoon. Previously, the league was scheduled to continue earlier this week, but had to be rescheduled due to the start of CXC exams. That's all the sporting highlights for now. I am Kenny Williams. Be sure to join us next time.
M&J Covering is the producer of designed galvanized and galvalume in Dominica. They design to your specifications, color and length, 4 styles of galvanized and galvalume pre-painted roofing sheets as requested, and supply all your galvalume accessories. M&J Covering helps you control spending and reduce waste. At M&J Covering, they are also equipped to build your roof to precise standards anywhere on island. So come to M&J Covering at 1 Mile in Portsmouth or call 445-5001 275-5003 today.
To end the news, the headlines again. The Public Service Union left out of discussions over allowances for nurses. A new plant virus affecting Dominica's bananas. And in sports, Dominica loses home advantage in the upcoming CONCACAF Nation Shield. Feel free to contact us at news@mapping2k4.com. You can access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the production team, I am Julian Morris. Thank you for watching. Join us tomorrow.